Hi everyone, it's Rax. With the introduction of the new Savage set, there are some improved ways to play the Z-Barb builds, including the Z-Barb for metas and also the Z-Barb for rats. Also, there are some further changes you can make for Season 20, which we'll go over all in this video, so that way you guys know exactly how to play the support barb roles in Diablo 3. Let's get started. Starting with the meta barb, we're going to take advantage of 3 different sets. First of all, we're going to wear Istvan's paired blades, which are Little Rogue and Slanderer. This is going to give us a buff to our attack speed and our armor, and it's also going to give us a buff to our damage, but we don't give a French toast about that because we don't do any damage. We're a support barb here. We'll take the attack speed so we can move around quicker, so we can throw spears faster, and the armor just to survive. We're going to take the 2 pieces of the Savage set or the new Frenzy set. It's going to double the effectiveness of our shouts, which is going to help our teammates with the doubled effectiveness of our Warcry and our Threatening shout. And finally, like always, we'll take the 4-piece Ray cores. All the runes on the Furious Charge are going to help us incredibly with our mobility. We'll wear 3 of the pieces and take a Ring of Royal Grandeur to complete that 4-piece as well. For the stats on all the gear, it's very simple, and I won't repeat myself 100 times because I don't want to waste your guys' time. You want perfect cooldown, that's number 1. After that, you'd love to have perfect attack speed. It's going to help you, again, move around quicker and throw more spears. A nice to have, but not completely necessary, is the resource cost reduction, again, to throw more spears. And finally, everything else is going to be for survivability. Life, vitality, all resist, armor. One thing to know is all resist is always better than armor because we will naturally get armor from our Paragon points, so we want all resist wherever we can get it. And one tricky thing here is whenever you can get something with intelligence instead of strength, like this Little Rogue for example, take it because again it will give you more all resist. So starting with the weapons, no surprise here, int attack speed cooldown resource as we just discussed. We'll sock it with an Amethyst for the life on hit, and the Slanderer is the exact same stats. We take Illusory Boots, which can only drop in Act 2 bounties. They can also drop in Act 4 bounties, but it's a way higher chance in Act 2. So run Act 2 bounties to get these. So we can move freely through enemies and stomp where we want to. Int Vite All Resistant Armor is what we're looking for. Now for the set pieces here, you can take the Savage pieces or the Raycore pieces in any of these slots. You can mix and match them. Just as long as you have 2 of the Savage and 3 of the Raycores, that's plenty good enough. For the pants, int Vite All Resist, and we'll sock it with diamonds, again for more all resist. Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, this is needed because every time we throw a spear, we're going to reduce one of our cooldowns by 1, and we're trying to reduce Ignore Pain because we want to keep Ignore Pain up all the time. The cooldown on this build is pretty tight with Ignore Pain because we don't have the luxury of taking Leoric's Crown. So try to get perfect CDR everywhere, and remember that you can throw spears to lower the cooldown of Ignore Pain. It's very important. Attack speed, cooldown, and resource cost is what we'll take. We'll roll off the crit hit chance for the socket. We'll take Gem of Efficacious Toxin for more damage, and you only have to level this to 25. Leveling it beyond 25 is not going to help you in any way. For the other ring slot, we'll take Band of Might. Whenever we stomp or whenever we charge, we're going to get massive survivability. This is definitely needed at lower Paragon levels. If you get to outrageous Paragon levels, you can consider dropping Band of Might for an Oculus Ring to give your DPS another chance to stand in an Oculus Ring. But for most people, Band of Might is going to be needed. Strength, attack speed, and cooldown is what we're looking for. For the belt, the Pride of Cassius, this is very important. We need the duration of Ignore Pain to be reduced by 6 seconds. It can either be 4, 5, or 6. We need it to be 6. I would take a non-ancient at 6 over an ancient at 5. We want 6 for sure. Another thing to keep in mind is we're cubing Chelonics Chain, so you can wear whichever one of these is better and then cube the other one. It's exactly the same thing. Strength, Vit, All Resist, and Life is what we're hoping for. The gloves, Strength, All Resist, Attack Speed, and Cooldown. If you're very tanky, you can consider taking resource cost instead of the All Resist. For the shoulder, strength, fit, all resist, and cooldown, we want cooldown everywhere. The helm, strength, fit, all resist, will socket with a diamond for more cooldown. For the chest, strength, fit, all resist, we'll socket with diamonds for the all resist. Flavor of Time, if we can get it, this is going to be a rare one to get, but we'll take all resist, percent life, attack speed, and cooldown. With, of course, the socket, we'll socket with Gogok of Swiftness. It's going to give us attack speed and dodge and cooldown. Amazing for our build. If you can't get exactly this, just try to get one with attack speed and cooldown at a minimum and try to get 8 cooldown. And finally, Strong Arm Bracers, Intelligence, Vitality, All Resist, and Life on Hit is what we're looking for. And try to get as close to 30% increased damage as possible for more damage for your DPS. Let's go over the skills. Warcry Veteran's Warning. This is going to give our allies a big armor increase, and it's also going to give them increased dodge chance. And remember, because of this beautiful 2-piece Savage set, all of the effectiveness of the Warcry is going to be doubled. Ignore Pain Mob Rule. This needs to be active all the time so your DPS can stay alive and hopefully keep their squirts buffs up. So it's going to give your allies 25% damage reduction and immunity to crowd control effects for 5 seconds. It's one of the best buffs in the game. Threatening Shout Falter. Enemies are going to take 25% increased damage. We get double that because of the Savage set. Incredible. Another thing is, if you're playing with a Witch Doctor, sometimes they would prefer to take Grim Harvest because the health globes are going to make them do increased damage. So if you're playing with a Witch Doctor, ask them if they would rather have Falter or Grim Harvest. Furious Charge, Merciless Assault. Luckily, we get all of the runes from Raycors. I like to take Merciless Assault because whenever we don't get all the runes, Merciless Assault is my favorite rune, because the recharge time is reduced by 2 seconds for every enemy hit. So as long as you charge through enemies, you can just charge again. You can traverse an entire map in seconds with this skill. Ground Stomp, Wrenching Smash. This is going to bring everything together and pixel it. It's going to make our DPS deal massive damage. Another thing you can consider taking instead of Wrenching Smash if you're with a Witch Doctor is Jarring Slam. Again, more health globes. It makes them deal a lot of damage. So if you're playing with a Witch Doctor, ask them what they'd like you to run. And finally, Ancient Spear, Rage Flip. This lets you flip the monsters all the way across the map. You flip them all to one side and then you stomp them together. It's a nice little pile for your DPS to destroy. For the passives, we'll take Relentless. If you drop below 35% life, all your skills are going to be half cost. Your Life or Fury is going to be doubled, and all of your damage taken is reduced by 50%. It's going to help you stay alive. Nerves of Steel is a cheat death in case you accidentally die. You'll stay alive. Superstition, all non-physical damage is reduced by 20%. Amazing for staying alive. And finally, Inspiring Presence, the duration of all of our shouts are doubled. And after we shout, it's going to give all of our allies 3% of their maximum life per second. In the queue, we will take Executioner. If we attack a monster at 10% health or below, it's going to instantly kill them. And if you're playing with a Necromancer, you may not need to take this. But to be honest with you, in the weapon slot, there isn't that great of an option to take anyway. You could take Echoing Fury or Ingeom or Messersmiths, but Executioner is pretty much the best in slot item, especially if you're playing with a Witch Doctor, so I just always play Executioner. Chelonics Chain, when we use Warcry, we're going to move 40% faster. It's going to help us get through the rift. And Ring of Royal Grandeur is needed so we can complete our 4-piece Raycor set. So now in Season 20, what changes would we make? Well, we only make one. Instead of the Executioner, we can take Oculus Ring. We can finally solve that problem because we lost our juicy Oculus Ring. Now, if you're playing with a Witch Doctor, they may prefer you to take Executioner and slay monsters below 10%. You'll have to ask them. But an Oculus Ring, especially if the Z-Monk isn't able to take one, is going to really help. Now let's move on to the Rat Support Barb. The Rat Support Barb, in my opinion, is the absolute best spec to play if you're introducing yourself to group play. It's immortal. It moves at the speed of light. It's very easy to gear for. And you essentially have infinite cooldowns. Nothing is going to be easier or higher quality of life than the Rat Z-Barb. The playstyle is similar. All we're going to do is support our teammates. You don't have to spear anything. You don't have to stomp anything. All you have to do is follow around your teammates, give them all the buffs, and you need to have massive, massive pickup radius, which is what this stands for, 22 per pickup radius, and that's the perfect amount of pickup radius that you can get. I always get the question, how much pickup radius should you have? Well, as much as possible. The lower the pickup radius that you have, the more difficult your job is going to be, but your job's not that difficult. I would try to at least get 16 before you start playing. And the itemization is exactly the same. We want cooldown, attack speed, then all survivability, all resist, everything that we just talked about. Except we want pickup radius as the secondary on every single piece. The easiest way to think about it is every single piece can roll pickup radius except the weapons and the rings. So no pickup here, but 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and Rondell's Locket can roll 6, totaling 22. So we want exactly what we went for on the Meta Z-Bar, just as much pickup radius as possible. Now, we don't need the 3 Raycore pieces anymore. We also don't need the Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, and we also don't need the Ring of Royal Grandeur. So instead of the 3 Raycore pieces, we'll take Leoric's Crown to double the effectiveness of our gem, giving us more cooldown. We will take Kane's 2-piece because it will give us more attack speed and more experience. Yes, the experience is severely nerfed at 70 and it doesn't help that much, but it's better than nothing. For the weapons, we'll take Ingeom, which is going to reduce all of our cooldowns by 10 seconds. For 15 seconds after killing an elite pack, we're going to mow elite packs down all the time. An Echoing Fury, slaying enemies engulfs the wielder into a frenzy. It's going to give you attack speed and movement speed, which is amazing. Since we don't need Ring of Royal Grandeur, and since we don't need Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, we will take an Oculus Ring to give our rats an extra chance to get that juicy little ring to stand in to deal more damage. The first 4 skills here are exactly the same. We don't have to stomp and we don't have to spear, so we can take Leap because the rats can teleport through walls and do all this crazy stuff. In order to keep up with them, we'll take Leap so we can do the same thing. And we'll take Sprint Forced March so we can move our team along forward and give them that movement speed. The passives are all the same, except we will take Pound of Flesh instead of Relentless. This will again make us move faster. And we will cube Messerschmitt's Reaver for more cooldowns instead of Executioner. We don't need Executioner because we will be playing with a Z-Neck. The Z-Neck will apply Frailty. The Z-Neck will kill everything for us. Now, in the jewelry slot here, you can cube several different things. I like Flavor of Time because for every pylon except power, it helps us. Double channeling, double shield, double speed, etc. Double conduit will be very helpful. You could also cube Star of Azkaranth, which would allow you to absorb fire damage. The only thing that can kill you is picking up the globes after an elite dies in a molten explosion. Other than that, you're going to be immortal. If you want to be completely immortal, cube a Star of Azkaranth. You can play around with it here. If you want to live the meme life, you could cube Band of Might and instead wear a Hellfire Ring for increased experience and also to shoot little fireballs out if you're about the meme life, but not really all that valuable. I take Flavor of Time here. And finally, what shenanigans can we change for Season 20? Well, since this slot isn't that valuable, we could take the Nemesis Bracers and take that burden off of the Z-Neck and allow the Z-Neck to do something different in Season 20. Now, the Paragon priorities are the exact same for all 4 of the builds, so I'll just go over it once. And one of the users in one of the comments told me to allocate the Paragon points this way, as it would be much easier to understand. I thought it was a great idea, and I do want to reiterate, I read every comment on every video. So I always listen to you guys, always listen to your guys' feedback. And the way that they told me to do it is put 1, 2, 3, 4, or if 2 things are tied, put 3 and 3. Or if you're not supposed to ever put the Paragon points in, put 0. So if you guys like this new method, this is the way that I'll do it from now on. So anyway, in the core things, max your movement speed and then your max fury. And then This is the age-old question. When you're a support character, how do you split your Paragon points here? I always go half and half. It seems to be by far the best for me for surviving. I have done like probably 2,000 metas at least. And I found that splitting them half and half is the best. Some people go all vitality. I can tell you that that's worse than splitting it. You do what you want to do, but if you want my advice, I'd split them half and half. In the offense, cooldown and then attack speed, that should be no surprise. Crit hit chance and crit hit damage are completely useless. I would fill them in though. The reason why I'd fill them in is if in case you use your barb also for whirlwind farming, you don't want to have to put in the points and remove them and put them in, so you might as well just put them in anyway. For defense, all resist first, then life, then armor, life per second last, and then resource, life on hit, gold find, and do never put your points in area damage, when you're supporting, because it's going to lag the game and you don't do any damage anyway. So we want no area damage on any of our gear in any of these specs. Alright, let me show you some gameplay, and since I've shown you guys me playing the meta Z-Bar hundreds of times, maybe you're interested in seeing me playing the Rat Z-Bar, which is the highest quality of life in Diablo 3. Just cruise around, pick stuff up, you can't die, it's just great. So if you're interested in playing that, let me show you what that looks like. Alright everyone, let me show you two 118s as the Rat Z-Barb. Pretty much all you do, spam everything except leap and use Furious Charge to move forward, and if you've got to jump over a gap, use leap, and that's it. So I'll demonstrate to you, I think on this next elite pack, I'm wearing the Nemesis bracers, so I just dive ahead and I click the pylons immediately. So I have to linger around and pick up those orbs. That did proc my cheat death. You can see that little silver red buff to the top right of my town portal icon, or just to the left of my Fury, so that did proc me. So if we're not in Season 20, you could wear Star of Azkaranth, or not wear Cubit, or a Flavor of Time, but other than that, you're pretty much immortal. My health bar never even moves. All you do is stick with your team. I like to constantly be moving around, because if I move around a little bit, then it's going to make sure to pick up all the globes, whereas if you stand still at all, it's not going to pick them up. The health globes are going to help the rats deal additional damage, and it is your job when an elite dies to pick up all the orbs that are left behind. But you can see that we are able to flatten this GR 118 effortlessly. And I just try to stick with the pack and just pick everything up, and that's all there is. So since that one went so quickly, I thought we'd show one more. As I get a lovely little Diablo error there, but luckily it didn't kick me out. So the way that you proc your strong arms is by bashing your face into elites. As I'm sitting there frozen in time, I think I'm chatting with somebody, so I'm going a little slow on picking up the items. It's completely unacceptable. Town is lava. You can see on my gear I didn't even get a chance to craft my cane set because we didn't have a barb, so I wanted to throw this together in 2 seconds, so should be wearing canes instead of the Aquila and the random waist piece, but I'll go ahead and fix that later. No time to look at anything, it's time to do another Great Rift. I want more XP, so here we go, one more. We're greedy with a terrible map. Look at this gap right here. They're all going to jump it. If I didn't have Leap, I wouldn't be able to do that. So wanted to illustrate that for you. That's why Leap is so good. If you want to be a crazy person, you could take Rend Mutilate for additional damage, but I wouldn't recommend it. So just run around, make sure that you hit every single elite with your Furious Charge to proc the Strong Arm Bracers, and I don't know, just pick up the globes. What else is there to say? And spam your abilities. It's a lot of fun to play. It's very relaxed. You can get a lot of Gons, a lot of items, a lot of gem ups, a lot of augments, a lot of blood shards doing these rat runs. I don't know if rats will ever be this powerful again, and maybe next season, maybe Blizzard has had enough of rats being one of the best XP metas. I wouldn't be surprised if they are nerfed in some way. Or who knows, maybe the brand new Demon Hunter set or the new Necro set will bring upon a brand new experience meta. But until rats are dead, rats are here to stay, and this is the build that you want. Notice how with my 22 pickup, if I essentially move anywhere, it just essentially vacuums up everything. If you had lower pickup radius, you'd have to put in more of an effort to kind of run around and grab everything, and that's going to slow you down a bit. Well, that's going to do it for this video, everybody. I hope these updated Barb guides are going to help you. Barb's my favorite class. Long live the Barb. Thank you so much for everything, and I will see you guys in the next video.